Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Women Exceed ShopTalk. We have an exciting program for you today, and we're happy that you all came out on this beautiful day. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Erwin Dayan. I am not the man repeller. That's not why I'm on stage. I just wanted to go over some of the things that our organization does so you're all aware of it. I know a lot of the women out there I see have come through my offices over the last decade. I encourage you to continue to do so. Exceed Network. Our mission is to encourage entrepreneurship. That's what we do every day for the last 10 years. Our process is simple. You come in, you online, through a phone call or into our offices, and you come through our staff and you meet me and we talk about your plans and your dreams. Our advisory services include mentorships, workshops, seminars, and incredible events like today. Some of the industries we serve are fashion, culinary, service, e-commerce, retail, technology, and always are willing to listen to new industries. A couple of the success stories over the decade has been, let's see if this works, Undercover Waterwear, Urban Pops, Got Clutter, Juice by Julie, and the list goes on and on. Just a quick quote that I heard last week from one of the women in the New York Times talking about women entrepreneurship. She said that without leaps of imagination or dreaming, we lose the excitement of possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. I just want you to know that I hope you leave today with a ton of mentors and advice, and it's key as part of anything you do to have that. I'll just end on this note that I have one for 41 years. She's my advisor, my mentor, and she lets me dream and be who I want to be, my wife, Marlene. Without further ado, we'll get the show on the road. I'll introduce you to probably a superhuman that I know for many, many years and has been my boss for a decade. She runs the Women's Exceed Network. She runs our board. She runs basically the world. So here she is, Kim Daba.
Okay. Erwin forgot to tell everybody to silence their phones. We're going to take pictures of you if your phone rings. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to thank our hosts, Rena and Eli Cohen, who let us traipse through their home unannounced about a half a dozen times, graciously, without care. A big hug and thank you to the Batman and Robin of Women Exceed, Sophia Franco and Nicole Cohen. I want to thank our exciting panelists who are always a little reluctant to think their business story is worthy of being heard in front of 300 women. I, for one, can't wait to hear all of you. A big thanks goes to our keynote speaker, Leandra Medine, whose schedule is tighter than tight, yet she was determined to be here with us today to inspire and educate. Once she confirmed, everything fell into place. Every year when I get up here, I think about how not to just be motivational, but to try to give some information, because that's what Exceed and Women Exceed is all about. This year, the clients we've helped at Exceed were a varied size, industry, income level, ingenuity, but there's one common goal: financial success. We've helped them get there with advice that specifically targets their business issues. In the big picture of things, I'm sure we all realize that business success and financial stability can create a lot of other healthy things like self-esteem, respect, marital peace, a lot of good things. But today, I'm going to get a little Jewish on you. There are two kinds of people in this world. There are thinkers, which we need in life, and there are doers. I fall into the second category. In the past year, I've seen a lot happen, the kind of things that make you rethink your purpose. So sometimes I'm preparing silly details for a meeting, or I'm picking a pink color on a hang tag, and I think, why the heck am I doing this? Shouldn't I be doing something more important, like for the greater good? So I think, what's the goal besides money? So I decided to call my local rabbi. I have a lot of those. What's Judaism's take on working women? First, we get a big compliment. The wisdom of women builds the home. It's a famous quote. Women have a sense of wisdom and intuition that men do not. Only if they use it in the right places, of course. We're not supposed to take it for granted. But the rest of the message is no different than the message for men. I think I was very happy to hear that. The big picture message is that if we're able, we're supposed to work. We say it in our Shema every day. But the caveat is Torah first, business second. Okay. So work and business are important, great. So much so that after 120 years, when we reach the pearly gates, the first question that we are asked is, were your business practices honest? Did you pay your bills on time? Did you cheat your vendors? How did you treat your employees? Wow. Not about lighting candles. Not about putting on tefillin. Not did you eat kosher. This message is for men and women. So I guess the idea is, it's the first question, because if you failed in this area, maybe God doesn't want to hear the rest of the answers. Now I'm going to get really heavy on you. In Mishlei, don't worry, I don't know what Mishlei is either. It says, know Hashem and he will straighten your path. What does that mean? Okay. Basically, it's the brass ring. It means have the right intention while you're working. Do the right thing with the money, and your success will come easier. Wow. So how do we have the right intention? Two things. One, when you're working, think, I am working for my family, and in every sense of its health. And two, do good things with your income. Then every single moment of work becomes a mitzvah. Cool. Have the right motivation, and self-fulfillment is surely a part of it. Spend the money the right way, take care of the needy, try to keep a kosher house, pay for your kids' tuition if you need to, spend on Shabbat and holidays, give tzedakah. So they said that's the lottery. Sounds good. Is that what I think of and do every day while I dream of where to ski in January? No. Can I aspire to do that? I think I can, a little bit. So they went further to say that the litmus test of that concept is, what am I doing in my spare time while I'm not working? So if you do good with your non-working hours, and I know many women in this community do, like take care of your family, help people, stay out of trouble, God trusts you with that time because you're doing good, and he won't make you work so hard. He'll ease your burden, so they say. Interesting. Do good while you're not working, and success comes easier. I've been working for the better half of my life, and I've been lucky enough to enjoy it. I never felt like working was a curse, which is what we're biblically told it is. And I didn't feel like I was working to earn money to do good deeds. But I've definitely come a long way. I've come to learn what many women already know. The main thing is family. I kind of backed into that, and I work hard making sure my husband and kids know that they're more important than my business. Zahava Bronstein, Alav Shalom, once said, if I died and came back and I saw the real truth in heaven, I wouldn't run to a class, I wouldn't go visit the sick, I would make a delicious meal and have it with my family, because that's the real thing. So I actually work very hard to make sure I have quality time to spend with my family. On another note, 80% of divorces are from financially unstable families, which brings me to another important point. We need to be behind our husbands. If we want peace in our home, and we believe financial stability can help with that peace, then we need to be a partner in the deal. In today's day and age, the needs are bigger. One income is very difficult, if not impossible, for most. I was talking to my mother, who's in the audience, right there. May she live till 120, who's the epitome of working women and family matriarch rolled up into one. I was talking to her about dual income, and she said, honey, years ago, there were two business options, whether you were a man or a woman. She meant wholesale and retail. Today, she continued, there are a million different types of businesses and ways to make money. She went on to list them: catering, hospitality, interior design, travel agencies, the list goes on, web designers. She said, you can even be a blogger, whatever that is. She knows my sister-in-law, Corey, is a blogger. She's right. So many avenues that a woman can take without sacrificing what comes first. Our program is vast. But before we move on, I'd like to quickly mention two organizations with whom Exceed partners. The first is Propel. Propel Network helps women of our community gain skills by enrolling them in certification courses. Very important. They have career coaches to work with women and choose to get their certification. Tuition assistance is provided to those who need it, and Propel works closely with Exceed when a woman is looking to take their business to the next level. I'd like to introduce Florence Arking, Director of Marketing and Recruitment. Are you here? Okay. She's not here, but it's okay. In a nutshell, Propel helps educate women and start them up, and Exceed helps with business advice and loans to get your business across the finish line. I also wanted to quickly introduce the SBH GEM program. GEM is a career mentoring program for young professionals and college-age students. The program was established to build relationships in our community. By connecting young adults for career guidance with professional mentors in their desired fields. GEM also offers summer internship programs where they place college students in educational summer internships. And this is an amazing opportunity to provide our community's youth with their first foray into the working world. Let me introduce Vicki Mastery. She's the project manager for GEM program and also runs Young Professionals Division at SBH. Are you here, Vicki? That's Vicki. Please feel free to go over to Florence and Vicki after the event for more information about Propel and GEM. So I stand here with chipped nail polish, and I remain, take care of what comes first, but then don't be afraid to follow your dreams. You can do it. You can have it all. We will help you. Let's celebrate the 10th year of Women Exceed. We couldn't do it without you. Come to us, come to me, come to Erwin, Sophia, Nicole. We exceed. Now, I think we might have a video for you, but if we don't, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Ladies, I'd like to introduce somebody from our community who not only runs a business, she does probably more chesed work than all of the business she does. She's an amazing person. She helped us today. She helps the clients at Women Exceed all the time. Everybody give a round of applause for Norma Cohen.
Hi, everybody. Today is one of my favorite days of the summer when we get together with all the women of the community and inspire one another to be the best we can be. Today is extra special because I was asked to introduce a very, very dear friend and special person who really needs no introduction. However, I must be about 8 years ago, I was at an event I was doing, and there was a high Delano table in the foyer of the Plaza Hotel. And I saw my friend Abe Cohen, and he was with the most magnificent girl I've ever seen, with a smile from ear to ear. And I went over to Abe, or I don't know what I did, and I said, who is this gorgeous girl? And she became Leandra Cohen, Leandra and Medine Cohen. I love her, adore her. the rest is history. She'll tell you her story. I also have to introduce my sister-in-law, Nicole Cohen, who will be interviewing Leandra and getting to know all her great inspirations that she had to say. So come on down, Leandra, Medine, and Nicole Cohen.
Hello? Maybe move this over. Anyone? Just use this one. Help? Okay, awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Cohen. Thanks for coming out. You may know me from my design blog, Sketch 42, but I'm sure by now you all know me from this awesome event. I love being part of an organization that helps women actualize their dreams and inspires us all to dream bigger. Today I have with me a woman who needs no introduction because she's actually famous. She's gone from college student to fashion world superstar to owning a media empire in just 6 short years.
I've also become a Syrian wife.
She's empowered girls and women around the globe to embrace their truth, to look at feminism differently, to look at expression of self as a special and interesting and important thing. She's given the fashion world some much-needed levity. In fact, she turned it on its ear, single-handedly inventing trends, trademarking phrases, and giving us all a vocabulary with which to laugh at ourselves. With this new way to talk about fashion, we discovered that suddenly the conversation wasn't just about clothes anymore. It was much bigger than that, and in fact, it was never just about clothes. And now the woman who founded the wildly popular Man Repeller website, Leandra Medine. Round of applause, everyone. My pleasure. Leandra, we're so happy to have you here, and I think we want to start at the beginning. What was the inspiration for Man Repeller? What was the origin story?
So I launched Man Repeller when I was a junior in college. I had just come back from my semester abroad in Paris, and while I was in Paris, I kept a blog, and it was called 4 Months in Paris, and I was chronicling the time that I was there. I was in school for journalism, and as I was writing this blog, I felt like uniquely liberated by the fact that nobody was editing me and sort of scrubbing my writing clean of all of the quirk that I thought defined it, but didn't realize that back then. So when I came back, I spent like 2 or 3 months just reacclimating myself, like race tracking to get AB to marry me. And then I was looking around my classroom one day, really, and this is toward the end of my junior year. And we had just started talking about jobs and how to obtain a journalism job in a sort of environment that was deteriorating as the day went by. And I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking that there are so many fantastic writers in this room, definitely better and more competent than I am. And so what am I going to do to separate myself? And I decided that I would start another blog that was separate from the one I kept in Paris because I'd enjoyed that experience so much, and that's how Man Repeller was born. The name is a result of the sad state of my love life at the time, A.B. Cohen. There he is. He strung me along for many, many years. But look at me now.
Queen of Deal. So what is exactly a man repeller? Man repelling has become something of a feminist mantra. What exactly does it mean to you?
So originally when I started Man Repeller, the definition was, so the site was about trends that women loved and men hated. So it was sort of a celebration.
All my clothes.
Right. A man repeller, it felt more like an actual person back then, was a woman who dressed for herself and not for men. And when I was still single, that concept was very liberating for me because it made me feel like I had a little bit more control over my love life, right? Like I was single not because I wasn't dateable, but because I was electively choosing to present myself in a way that maybe made bringing me around a little bit challenging.
Remember sequin harem pants? That
Yeah.
was the era. Those were the days, right?
They sure were.
So how has the definition of Man Repeller changed over the years?
I think in the last 2 years, the site or the blog has become a fairly substantial business, and as a result of that, it's become much more of an attitude. It's really hard to scale an individual, right? And so when you think about Man Repeller, it was always more than just the clothes you put on your back, because it's so deeply psychological. The way that you present yourself says a lot about who you are and how you're feeling, and whether or not you recognize it, it's the things that it defines the things that you say where words fail.
Right.
And this is coming from
It's
a
really
person
about
who
just
is
living for
extremely
yourself
wordy.
and presenting
is.
your true and
so-
getting in touch with that.
Right. It feels much more like an attitude now. Or
Right.
not it feels much more. It is much more of an attitude now. And one that celebrates women, not necessarily trying to become something else, but feeling really proud of who they are now. And of course, we're all about self-improvement. So if you want to become better, by all means, we're going to help you on that road. And it's also about the sort of intellectualization of fashion, right? Because
Yes.
being interested in fashion doesn't make you an idiot, and you can have like a profound political opinion but still care about the shoes that you're wearing, and you can have those two conversations in tandem and shouldn't feel minimized for that reason.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So tell your husbands that.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it, right? Tell us how a college student stepped out onto the world stage. How did you get the fashion world's attention so quickly? And how did a girl living at home with her parents get people to stand up and pay attention?
I think I was really lucky. And this is actually an interesting piece. Internships are incredibly important because for 5 years previous to starting Man Repeller, I interned first at a fashion house and then at a media startup, a fashion media startup. And in the summer that I was assisting the editor-in-chief at the media startup, I got to know a lot of her friends because I was planning her dinners and doing coffee runs for she and whoever was coming into the office. And these people had access to me from Twitter, right? So when I started Man Repeller, I would tweet articles from the site, and all of these people were editors at all the other publications that we read, at the New York Daily News and Refinery 29 and Fashionista and the Post and the Times. And I think that because of social media at the time, because the space wasn't so crowded yet, and we were still in like the elementary school phase
And
of the
everyone
internet.
kind of grew up together. Like Refinery was before they were funded.
Exactly.
And
Well, no, they were always funded,
Oh, they
but
were?
it was obviously a much
Smaller.
smaller site then. But so the internet still very much felt like elementary school,
was a
and
Wild
everyone's like,
West.
"Oh, cool! What's that? What's going on over there?" Like, I don't know if I'm interested in it, but I'm interested in like figuring out if I'm interested in it.
Right.
And so people were following me. I was posting links to the site, and it really earned traction that way.
What was the moment that made you realize, oh, hey, this is maybe a real thing? It's not just a hobby or a joke or a fun little side project.
Yeah, I wish the answer to this question wasn't so inward, because there have been so many moments that should have been signifiers to me that I was actually running a business or on track to run a business. I was profiled.
Like interviewed in every magazine.
Yeah,
under the sun.
Oh, it's so windy today. Wow. I was profiled by the New York Times 6 months after I launched. Like, that should have been a starter point. Instead, I was like, it's not going to get better than this. I better keep riding this wave until it crashes. And then a year later, I was named at the top of Adweek's 25 Most Powerful Voices in Fashion, to the point that even after Fast Company named me one of the most creative people in business, I was like, when are they going to call me out? I had like a very,
Imposter
very violent
syndrome.
case of imposter syndrome, exactly. And I think in many ways we all struggle from that and still have it.
I think
and
everyone in the
Yeah.
creative industry feels like they're faking.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, because in a way we are.
Yeah.
Everyone is faking something.
Right.
And yeah.
So when did you realize that the blog was worth pursuing as a job and not just
So when I started believing in myself, in the last year and a half, I've really had no choice but to believe all of the manipulations that I was putting out to hire these very, very interesting and well-known and smart people to come work for me. I couldn't be like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I had to fake it until it actually became true. I actually did believe that I was building something that is going to change the way that women interact with themselves and the people around them.
Right. So what were the first steps that you took to leveraging your attention into an actual business?
Leveraging my attention into an actual business.
People are just looking at you. When did you start expanding it into advertising campaigns and that kind of thing? It happened early on for you.
Well, I realized really early that the site. So when I launched Man Repeller, I didn't mean for myself to be the Man Repeller. That was never really the intention. But I realized very quickly that the internet was like living through a very voyeuristic era, and every time I would post either like a picture of my feet inside shoes or like myself from the bottom down, those stories would perform so much better than the ones that were just writing and like pictures that I pulled from the web. So I sort of funneled it into a personal style blog. And after like a year and a half of that, I was like, this is exhausting. This is not so much fun, really. I don't want to be the face of this thing anymore. And how am I, you can't scale an individual. If I want this to become a business, I didn't know I wanted it to become a business, but all of the thinking mechanisms were in place that pointed towards build mode.
Right.
I started hiring new writers and thinking about contracting models. And I figured that if I could style myself to look a certain way, there was no reason I couldn't style other people to look like that. And there was no reason I couldn't train other people to style the way that I do.
How did you stand out from the crowd, and how did you turn it from a first-person blog to a media lifestyle destination and into a community and a universe, as you call it? I think that's something so unique to Man Repellers. Like, the comments are sometimes more interesting, not in a negative way, but like they're equally as interesting as the blog posts. And how did you cultivate that community around you?
Yeah, the power of focus is so important, and it took a really long time for me to figure out what our focus needed to be. And I feel like the site kept changing because I didn't want to focus on audience because it really wasn't about numbers, and I didn't want to focus on content, yes, but the content is so amorphous. It changes. It can be so many different things. And so I realized that what I needed to focus on was our community, because we really do have this incredibly robust and intelligent cohort of men and women who, like, sometimes reading their comments is more interesting than reading the actual stories. But I forgot the beginning of this question.
How did you build the community?
So it's sort of an unsatisfying answer, and so I'm sorry, but
No, not
we
at all.
were like really, really honest, and I think that part of it was also like willing to screw up as you go.
Talk
you know?
about your authenticity and your voice. People want to know about how you, I guess you don't create authenticity, but how do you make sure that you stay authentic and you stay true to your vision of what the site and what your business is?
Yeah, that's hard too, because it's very easy to get pulled in a million different directions. And the minute you start capitalizing or like seeing opportunity, all you want to do is stretch that window of opportunity and monetize to the best, to your best capability. And so it's really easy to get caught up in what has worked for other people and to listen to the advice that people give you. And, you know, if they say you need to grow beyond just writing about fashion or just writing about this, you kind of want to take that advice because it seems like all signs are going to point towards more money, right?
Yeah.
But something about the way that I was running Man Repeller always made me feel like that wasn't the growth trajectory for us.
Right.
That we could build something of real substance and value, and it didn't need to reach 15 million people. It just needed to get like 1 million really, really profound eyeballs, like people who were really excited to be there. And 1 million people is a ton. That's a lot.
That's a small city.
It's a small city.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was always very, very scrupulous about staying honest to that. And every time something felt dishonest, I felt really dirty. You know, because Man Repeller started as so much of me. And so every time I put something
projects
out
onto
there,
you
yeah, every time
so
I put
much
something
personally.
out
Yeah.
there that didn't feel like me, it sort of felt like the equivalent of going out in like a pair of slacks from Ann Taylor or something.
Right.
You know
Got
what I
it.
mean? Like
Got it.
just so not me.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with Ann Taylor.
Right. Yeah. I think we all want to hear about how Man Repeller makes money, because I know as a person that runs a blog, everyone's like, how do you make money? What is a blog? How does it work? And so I don't think anyone realizes that a blog is like a mini magazine, especially your website. And so I think we want to hear about how you monetize it in like specific, like describe.
So the way that any publication monetizes is through marketing, is through advertising. So you're extricating marketing dollars from different brands' budgets. The way that Man Repeller monetizes is really similar, but we don't just put ads on the site. They're not just banners that we're throwing up. It would be so easy if that still worked, but it doesn't really work anymore. And so we operate on an integrated editorial basis. And what integrated editorial is essentially native advertising. And what that means is, so you'll come to Man Repeller, you'll read a post, you'll love the story. It looks and sounds and feels like any other post you've ever interacted with, but either at the bottom or the top, you'll see that the post was sponsored by X brand, or X company. And that's a piece of native advertising. So it looks, feels, and sounds like a regular post, but it's underscored by a brand. And so that is like 80% of the mechanics of how we monetize.
Okay.
But because Man Repeller is so amorphous and it's more than just a publication, we also do brand collaborations. We've done shoe lines with Superga and jewelry collaborations and t-shirt collaborations, and we just started selling hats.
I need a hat.
Yeah.
I need a
I
hat.
should've
We
brought
all need a
some.
hat.
Mm-hmm.
Leandra,
Get
us hats.
And because the company is so small and self-funded, I don't take a salary out of the company, so all of the modeling stuff that I do is my side hustle.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm AB's sugar mama. Where is he? He's not even here anymore. He left.
So I think that's an important thing to mention, that you haven't taken any venture capital from anyone.
Yeah, we're
So
fully self-funded.
You fully own yourself, your brand, everything about it, which is amazing
Yeah, but it's also terrifying and exhausting.
and hard to grow.
Yeah.
So you have to put your
Yeah.
money back into the brand.
It's like raising a baby that never learns how to speak or something.
Yes, totally. Tell everyone how many employees you currently have. She only had one part-time writer, and now you have an empire. Tell us all
Well,
about
it's-
all the different people that work for you and how you found all of them.
It's certainly not an empire. It feels like that
a
to
mini-
me because
mini
I've never
empire.
done anything like it before. But the team is 12 people, and the breakup is photographer, graphic designer, editorial director, senior writer, junior editor. So 5 on the creative team, then an office manager, a salesperson, 3 salespeople, 2 media planners, so they run the campaigns, and then a CRO, that's a chief revenue officer.
I'm like, what's that? Okay.
And myself, and we're hiring for a couple other roles.
That's amazing.
If anyone's interested in a job.
Send your resumes to Leandra.
Do careers at manrepeller.com.
Yes. And explain the ins and outs of running a lifestyle site. Like, let's talk about like content creation, how you go back and forth between your, visual teams, your editorial teams. How long in advance do you write the posts? Where do you get the ideas for the posts? All that jazz.
Yeah, it's so exhausting. I think if I knew how difficult running a media company would be when I started, I wouldn't have done it, but I would have maybe done things differently, like enlisted a partner so I didn't feel so lonely so often.
Okay.
The process is long. So we will fill out our calendar. I was actually doing this last night when I got home from dinner. We'll fill out our calendar from a month in advance. So it starts with a team meeting. The entire 12 employees from the company will sit around a round table once a month, usually toward the middle of the month, and we call that the creative dump. And everyone just comes with ideas, what they've been thinking about, what's on their mind. Like, they're interested. The verticals that we span are health, fitness, fashion, lifestyle, pop culture. So everyone comes with pitches. Like, I've been drinking a lot of kombucha, and I don't know why I like it so much. Is it really good for me? That's a good question. Why don't we ask a nutritionist and turn that into a story? So we usually parse like 150 ideas out of these meetings and then break that down to between 80 and 90 stories that go up over the course of the month.
Right. And how many times are you guys posting per day?
We're posting 6 times a day, sometimes 7 or 8, depending
Wow.
on whether or not there's news, although we have deliberately stayed out of the news. Does anyone want me to get their phone for them? Oh, was that yours?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys are not CNN. You
No,
are
absolutely not.
Your own
Yeah,
version of that.
we're sort of like a journal, a creative journral.
Right.
So we have 6 stories going up a day. The calendar is pretty much set from about a month in advance, and then there's
Is anyone okay? Is everyone okay?
Is everyone okay? Really windy, huh?
Yikes.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
And then we have a 72-hour rule in place. So the writing of a post is done 3 days before it is supposed to be set live. That means that all of the creative imagery is also executed for the story. By 48 hours before the post, so 2 days before the post, everything needs to be final edited because we have 3 different sets of eyeballs read over a post. It goes through like 3 different ringers to make sure that it's ready to be baked. And then it's scheduled a day or 2 before the post goes live, which is very, very different from when I started. I used to like wake up, like pull my computer into my bed from my side table and just like write whatever was on my mind.
That's kind of still where I'm at, and it's not fun. It's a no bueno place to be.
No, well, it is. I mean, when I think about it now, I remember it really fondly. It feels really fun. And sometimes I think about when I originally started hiring people, I feel like I was just getting really lonely working from home. Like,
Right.
AB would get home from work at like 7:30, and I'd be like, hey, what do you want to do? Want to get dinner? And he's like, I can't talk to anyone right now. And I'm like, well, I haven't communicated with a single person in 48 hours,
Right.
so... I almost feel like the first 3 or 4 people I hired were literally friends that I paid to hang out with me. Like, very, very literally. My therapist says that I should have responded to isolationism, if that's how I felt, as opposed to
God.
building a company. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
Okay. Okay, so I think like people don't understand that you're creating almost every image that's on your site. I think people like they see a cool little graphic, they think that graphic just fell from the sky, but no, she has people working on this stuff.
Yeah.
Tell them about like the post with your mom with the 10 different pictures that you had to take and
Oh, all the ingredients?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is that my older brother asked me 2 weeks ago, he's like, where do you like find all those stock photos on Tumblr? And I was like, no, we make them.
Exactly.
We make all of them.
Exactly.
And he was like, wow, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
well, that's what we're doing all day, pretty much.
Right.
Which is kind of great.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Setting up little photo sets and studios, it's so
Our
fun.
studio is about the size of my foot.
Fantastic. Even better.
It's really, it's funny because the photos, when you look at them, seem larger than life, but all you really need, space-wise, is like,
a little square.
yeah,
Yeah.
8 by 12 inches.
Fantastic. I think that, do you ever find that the posts you're less into are like huge runaway successes and the ones that you thought were going to be amazing, people are like, meh. Because I find that if I love a picture, I guarantee you like no one likes it on Instagram. I can't predict my audience's likes and dislikes still.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny that you say this because this is the joke I have with my friend Rosie, also a Sulin, who has an
Who was here last
incredible
year.
clothing label. Every time I make my personal order at the beginning of the season while the buyers are doing it, Max, Rosie's business partner, is like, okay, these are the things that no one else is going to buy. So let's just make a note that we're going to have to make a copy for Leandra and a copy for Rosie, and nobody else is going to want this thing because my style is so different. And I think that what you find with creatives is that the thing that really gets them going, the thing that they're most enthused and excited about, is often not the thing that takes off because it's a little bit early.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like it's still incipient, it's still primordial. Like maybe nobody wanted to wear like cargo surf shorts last summer when
Now-
Rosie made them, but now everyone's looking for them.
Now
you know what I
everyone's
mean?
now they're knocked off
And
everywhere.
so that will happen with content also.
Yeah.
Where
Like the world isn't ready for it yet.
yeah, the reason it's kind of amazing is because once you put something out there, it lives on forever. So you'll find that when you publish a story, every now and then it won't take off right away and it's a little disheartening. But then like 6 months later, a year later, all of a sudden it's refreshed and people are reading it. And it's sort of a blessing and a curse because on the one hand, it lives forever and so it has like countless opportunities to like obtain the eyeballs that it
Right.
deserves. But on the other hand, like once it's out there forever.
Oh, I have an interesting, like, spur of the moment question. Are the blog posts from the first year of Man Repeller still up there somewhere?
They sure are, and they're
Oh,
so
boy.
embarrassing. I find myself very frequently having to apologize because we also lived in a very different era from like a political correctness
Yes.
standpoint.
Yes.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
like
it.
recession time, like just it was like a different world back
yeah,
then.
it was a different day.
Yeah. So I secretly go back and take some of mine down just because they're mortifying.
Yeah, mine are too. But I, you know what else is mortifying? Pictures from my wedding. I'm not gonna like get rid of those. It's
They were
okay.
cool.
It
Though,
speaks to a
your
point
wedding
in my
was very
life.
cool.
Okay.
Tell us about what the least and most profitable parts of your business are.
So it's hard to speak to a part of the business that is least profitable because we make decisions not to monetize certain parts of the business, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are certain pieces of content on Man Repeller that you can't buy. Over Fashion Week, we don't run any campaigns because we want the content to be pure. We're coming at it from a critical perspective. You know, you can't really buy a styling post because that would infringe on the intellectual property or like the honesty.
The
factor.
authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the most profitable areas of the business are like curiously Instagram, which I like sort of have a problem with. I try not to sell one-off Instagram stories across the Man Repeller channel. They usually have to be baked into larger campaigns that run on site.
So you won't sell she won't sell one Instagram post,
Yeah.
but she will do, if she does a huge campaign where she produces content, you can
Right.
buy a piece of that on Instagram.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think a perfect example is the story we just ran with AG, where we styled a shoot, not on me, on models, so that's okay.
In Coney Island, it was super cool.
In Coney Island, using this collection for AG. They had originally come to us and only wanted an Instagram post, and we were like, we can't do that. What we can do is blow this out into an editorial story, write like a little homage to the end of the summer, and then you could have X, Y, and Z on Instagram.
Got it. And I think that's a very organic way to do it.
Yes, but we're also being quite experimental because the taste levels of the community is changing. And you know, when I started Man Repeller, people were so afraid that print was dying, and that was 6 years ago. And in this, just 6 years later, after print had been established for however many hundred years, we're talking about how desktop is dead and everyone's on mobile all the time.
Right.
And we're trying all this experiential stuff. We're selling events and we're selling pop-up shops and thinking about what print looks like and just, you know, really turning this into a little universe.
I also had for you later on was, but I'll ask it now. How do you stay ahead of tech? Like, I can't even Snapchat. I think it's beyond my capabilities. How do you guys know what the next big thing in tech is? Like, I know you're already doing Facebook Live. Again, I don't know what that is. So, like, that's a huge thing for you. So, do you have people that you consult with? Like, how do you guys...
so it's our industry, right? It's like...
It's always changing and evolving.
And we're in the middle of it. We're
Right.
always in it. It's like when people ask me how I know what's going to trend, like, you know, what people are going to be wearing or what I'm going to want to wear. Like, I'm in my head. I'm at shows, and so I'm like aware. I'm aware of like the dichotomy in taste and the nuances of what's changing and how it's changing. And I take what I like and I discard what I don't. And I think I apply that same tenet to the way that I run the business. And yeah.
So that works.
It sure does.
Yay. Okay, so many women here have created businesses via social media. What are some social media tips you can give the women in the audience?
Ooh.
Like, how can they make their Instagrams better? How can they sell more product? How can they do better?
Well, so apparently hashtags really work.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I mean, I did know that, but I didn't believe it until we started implementing and incorporating more hashtags. It really does work. And interacting with people, like commenting on other people's posts, and then having them come and check out your page and stuff like that.
Right.
It really helps to not be so static with it. Because
Also answering people's comments that they leave you.
Answering the private messages.
Exactly.
Organic virality on Instagram is kind of impossible now because it's more like Facebook in that they decide what makes it to the top of the feed and what doesn't anymore. It's not happening
Which is
sequentially.
also like a strange thing now.
Well, yeah, because the way that Instagram is being used is as a business facilitator.
Right.
More often than not, the same way that Facebook became a marketing tool.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really about connecting you with your friends and the people around you anymore. So I think just getting to know it the same way that you network in person, right? Like you would go to a corporate event, right? And so what is the equivalent of that on social media, on Instagram?
Going to your hashtag
Or
and
finding
liking
accounts
stuff.
that are similar to yours,
Yeah.
trying to understand who's following you, what kind of people they are, what they're interested in. It's like social psychology 101 a little bit.
Okay, that's interesting. What are some things that every businesswoman should go home and do?
So the thing I'm going to say is probably not, I hope it's helpful because it's been extremely helpful for me, and this is something that I wish I knew much earlier on, is that your business goals really have to align with your personal goals. And if they don't, you're never actually going to reach your business goals because you're going to find that they're not actually your goals. I think the first things first as a woman, and this isn't true for all women, but I will say it for myself, is that you have to know what you want personally, what you want out of your life when the lights are off and you're home and you're alone with your thoughts and you're in your bed and either you're next to someone or you're not, and what that's going to give you, right? And I don't think I realized that for the first 4 years that I was in business, that.
But you were also 21.
Yes, I was really young.
Yeah.
That's fair and that's true. But, people always ask me about work-life balance, and I'm like, I don't think I figured it out. I think that I've prioritized work over my personal life in a way that has impacted the course of events that have followed that I wish I could have avoided, that maybe I would have been able to. I'm not exactly sure, but knowing what you want personally is going to be able to inform what you want professionally, and you create your plan and you carve your path following that. And the other thing is that when you start to see success, or even you don't, you start something and you go to people for advice. Advice is just advice. If you feel like it runs counter to what you're thinking or what you want, then don't take it. You don't have to. Often our intuition and our instincts, that fire pit in your belly, it's right. It's not going to lead you astray. And if you have enough faith in that, and you should, because that's really all we have, then you should know that you're going to be okay. I always say that we get what we want. We all do. If we work hard, everybody gets exactly what they want, but you have to know what you want.
Having started Man Repeller so young, do you feel like you made any mistakes? Do you have regrets? Anything on that level?
It's hard to say that I regret anything because
I'm in
a position of success. I'm extremely, extremely grateful for everything that I've been given. I think, if anything, it's only made me better. It's only humbled me. It's made my connection to religion and to Judaism and my family so much stronger because I feel so humbled by everything that I've been through, and also because why me? You know what I mean? It's we talk about this person has it easy, this person has it hard. I every day feel like I have it really easy, and
That's amazing.
I don't regret being able to feel like that.
Right. Have there been any other women who have encouraged you, inspired you? Did you ever have a mentor? The blogging industry was the Wild West, so it was hard to have a mentor, but I'm sure there have been women who have helped you along the way.
Yeah, so I'm very, very inspired by Deborah Needleman, who's the editor-in-chief of T Magazine. T Magazine
She's a rock star.
Is my right. She was at Domino previously.
Yeah.
It's my favorite piece of media, and so whenever that magazine comes out, I feel so incredibly excited, and I just can't wait to eat it up. And to me, that's exactly what media is supposed to do, make you feel something. It's not as literal as words on a page. It's really an experience. And so she's someone who I've always really looked up to. The former chief fashion critic of the New York Times, Kathy Horan, when I was just starting out, I sent her an email and asked her if I could take her for coffee, and she very, very generously wrote me back, and that really encouraged me to continue reaching out, because what I found is that people are much nicer than you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
And because blogging was so young, and everyone who was in the industry and doing well in the industry was very much a contemporary of mine,
Right.
What I did was actually forge very real and honest friendships in the industry, and we became sounding boards for each other, which has been really nice.
That's amazing, and that's kind of what we try to do here at Women Exceed. Even if some people are bigger and some people are smaller, a lot of us are just all growing up together business-wise, and that's such a fun and inspiring place to be.
Yeah, and business has really changed, right? There's enough business to go around for everyone, and as women, we have a moral obligation to help each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important piece of how great it is to be a woman and alive in 2016. We're fighting together. We might be, we might have different businesses, but we're not trying to knock each other down.
Totally. Have you had any glass ceiling moments, like shattering it, hitting it, anything like that?
So fashion is a funny industry because it's really run by women.
Right.
And I work for myself, and I'm a woman, so there's no misogyny in my office. But I did come very close to selling my company earlier this summer to a big media male executive. And when I was hiring my new editorial director, one of the things she said to me, and she had built a website called Racked from the ground up previous to coming to Man Repeller, and she's extremely well known in the industry, and I couldn't believe that we got her. And she was like, I've worked in women's media for the last 20 years, and I've never, ever been able to work for a strong woman, and I'm
That's
so
awesome.
excited to work alongside a woman. And because of that conversation, I turned down the sale, and that made me feel very empowered.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions about your work and the man repeller world? Anything you want to clear up here?
Well, it's not, there are misconceptions, but I take the misconceptions not necessarily with a grain of salt, but oftentimes what will happen is someone will come over to me and say, I love your Instagram, so like, what do you do all day? Just take pictures of yourself and post them? And it's not so offensive so much as it is flattering, because it's supposed to look easy. It's supposed to look like I'm just
Means
sitting
you're doing
around.
it right.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like I'm just sitting around and taking pictures and like anyone can do it. You know, it's not supposed to feel difficult, because if you know how hard it is from the get-go, you're never going to do it. The same, you know, you have to be a little bit naive to get married, to have children. I think that's why this community is so strong and prosperous, is because we're all like infants when we get married, right? I got married when I was 21, like I don't know what I was doing, you know? And it's the same with having children.
Right.
Like once you see your friends going through it, you're like, that is birth control.
Yeah.
And you know?
And the same with starting a business. You started it
Yeah.
so young, you're like, before you even knew what you were getting into.
If I knew then what I know now, I don't know if I would have like had it in me. I would have been so afraid
I think
to
you
do
would have.
this. I would have been scared. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And where do you see yourself in 5 years? What's next on your list of goals? And like, any last words for the audience?
In 5 years, I hope that I have my work-life balance figured out. You know, if I'm painting a picture, I was telling this to Nicole earlier, exactly 5 years from now, I feel like I hope I'm here or in the Hamptons with my parents, and I'm like sending my children off to camp, and I'm working from here, and you know, my directors are coming here to be with me as opposed to me going there to be with them, and you know, that my goals right now are very like personal oriented. Just like trying to fill my ovaries up.
I getcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And anything you want to say to the audience? Like, you connect to everyone on such a human level, and that's part of what makes you so amazing and touching. Any last words?
I think it sounds really platitudinous to say trust yourself, but it took me a very long time to realize that by following my gut and following my instinct and kind of just closing my eyes and going for it, I've done all of the most profound and successful things that I've done. Every time I've sort of like stopped myself and second-guessed it or taken advice that I like instinctively and intuitively knew I shouldn't have taken, I've been led astray. And this community is so strong and so powerful, and it's so special, and I feel so grateful to have been invited in by the Cohens, because they took me in, and I became one of you. We're all in this together now, people.
Welcome.
But it's been so...
Welcome to Cohenhood.
It's been so empowering to see how many women are so curious about work and building things, and just keep going.
It's
and
a new dawn here.
And when it starts getting really hard is when you know that you're doing something right. So feed on that difficulty and don't get caught up in it, because it goes away, you know? And you guys have so many kids. Like, it's so much easier, I think, than raising children. I think. I don't actually know, but I think. That's
Okay,
it. That's all I
everyone.
got.
Thank you so much. Should we take a question?
Oh, there's a question. Oh, thank you. Oh, this is actually another thing I would say. That book is like
They
the
want to know about her
trajectory
book.
leading to my book, which was published when I was 22 years old. I think that book is a perfect example of when I didn't believe in myself enough and trust my own editorial opinion. I took a lot of my editor's recommendations, and what I was left with is a product that I'm not extremely proud of. And the thing about a book is that it stays on bookshelves forever. And if someone picks it up today, they don't know that I wrote that 5 or 6 years ago, right? And that it's not like, it's not telling about who I am now and what it's not in line with my philosophies now. And that's okay, because the same way that my wedding album speaks to that moment in time, so does that book. But the process was really short. I actually wrote most of it while I was on my honeymoon, which I'm sure my husband loved. But it was written over the course of 3 months when I was 22 years old. It was very unique because the publisher came to me and asked me to write the book and gave me an advance. I didn't shop it around. I didn't even know I wanted to write a book. She sort of was like, do you want to write a book? And I was like, okay, yeah, why not? But I would like to write another one, and I hope that, I think I will, maybe not right now at this moment in time, but definitely at some point. And it really is a very good example of like a sort of master of the craft, an editor at a big publishing house, having an opinion that was different from my own. And 7 years later or 5 years later, my math is terrible. That's the other thing that I like about being in a creative industry. But 5 years later, I regret taking so many of her pointers. I wish I'd listened to myself a bit more. So your guts are right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your husband a part of your business, and if so, how?
Yes, he's extremely helpful. As previously mentioned, I'm terrible with numbers. And so he's sort of been a makeshift CFO for me for the last year and a half, sort of in charge of payroll, and he onboards us onto all these cool apps because there are so many different apps that help with human resources and payroll and all of that stuff. And that's extremely helpful, but more important than that, he is like very, very much my spiritual and emotional backbone. I mean, Nicole asked, we were running through the questions earlier, and she asked me to talk about how my life has changed or what I've done or how I've made it, so to speak.
Right.
You had a question about, like, now that I've made it,
Now that
like,
you've made
what
it.
are the challenges?
What are the challenges?
But by the way, the thing about making it is that it never ends. There's no such thing as I've made it. There's no past tense. And that's another important piece to remember, and I think it speaks to the minute it gets hard is when you know you're doing something right. If you can come to terms with the fact that it, just like happiness, is a consistent journey, it's never over, it's never finished, it makes like putting your head down and just doing the work a lot easier. But it took me a long time to realize that. I think A.B. taught that to me. And when she asked me that question, I sort of said, I feel like I shouldn't answer that, and A.B. should, because they say behind every great man is an even better woman. I would say behind every mediocre woman is a tremendous, tremendous, phenomenal man with very curly hair.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was so sweet.
he's very, very special, truly.
He really is. Anyone else? Yes.
Because you do have a very prevalent community, how do you deal with criticism and negative feedback that you get from your
How do you, because we live in such a prevalent community, how do you deal?
Your community,
The
Yeah.
man, oh,
how do you deal with the
Criticism.
feedback or the criticism?
oh, the man repeller community.
So one of the really special things about the Man Repeller community is that even though there is negative feedback pretty often, it's always very respectful, and that's usually the feedback that I look for. It's so much more empowering and thoughtful to receive a comment that isn't like, this looks great or good job. That's more like, this is an interesting perspective, but seemed a little bit tone deaf because of X, Y, and Z, and here's what you're not recognizing and realizing, because that's where you learn, right? That's when my opinion plus new opinion come together and create new idea, and that's the way that a community is built, right? It doesn't happen so often anymore that people just say nasty things like you're so ugly or you're so dumb, and when that happens, you sort of just
Whatever.
you brush it off.
As long as
Be
people
like,
are respectful.
My mom said something so profound to me when I was really young, and it really stuck with me. And that was that when people are mean to you, it has nothing to do with you. It's all about them. And I didn't understand what it meant until the first time I was mean to someone, and I realized that I was being mean to that person because I was feeling shitty about myself, right? And if you can think about the times that you've been not so nice to anyone else, it's always born out of your own insecurity. And so I think about that. When people do say really nasty things, I feel a little bit sorry. You must be in a very dark place to be openly commenting like this, and I want to help you through that. I wish I could help you through that. And so that's sort of how I deal with it. I'm very narcissistic about the whole thing.
I love it. Yeah.
If I could give a piece of advice to an aspiring fashion blogger, first I would say don't quit your day job. I think it's a lot more difficult to build your own property born out of a fashion blog now. I was very lucky with my timing, I think. But also be very, very honest and true to your own perspective and work for other people. If you're
I like that advice.
that's the first thing I think is identify 4 or 5 career role models you have and email them. Ask them to take them for a cup of coffee. Ask them if they're hiring, if they need an intern, anything. A lot of us are also in a position of privilege, and I know this was true for myself, that I could intern. I worked for free for 5 years, and there was no financial burden on my shoulders, and that facilitated so much opportunity, and I met so many people, and those connections really carry you through the next generation of the industry. All of the people that I interned with are now senior editors at the publications that we all admire. You know, you really, it's like being in school. You grow up with a class, and everyone accelerates together.
Love it. Great answer. Yeah.
Must you have a strong social media presence to be successful today? No. Let's look at Celine.
Right.
Celine doesn't use any social media. It really depends on your product. If you're in the business of opinions, then that's the way that opinions are consumed. But if you're creating a product and the product is good enough that it speaks for itself, and it should be good enough that it speaks for itself, I think the social media kind of just follows. But that's the first thing, is we can't eliminate quality. That's number one.
Totally. Yeah. Business get to a blogger.
To reach out to someone who runs a blog? So I've come in contact with many young designers through the private messages on Instagram. We check that really regularly. And what's interesting about young designers who are trying to get their product out there is that people on the media end are looking for the next new thing anyway. And so sometimes you'll feel afraid to email someone, but like all they're begging for is an email to come into their inbox that gives them something to write about. So.
Can I say something? As long as you write a personalized email that isn't like a mass copy and paste, I think people will respond.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Yeah,
as long as
and
it's
keep it
not-
short. Keep it
Yeah.
very short.
Yeah.
So she asked if I feel like clickbait has changed what I choose to cover. One of the rewards of never having taken on funding, because I could have very easily gone the VC route. You know, we're living in a venture capital world and everyone is throwing money at businesses. One of the rewards of having decided not to take on any funding, outside of not having to learn math, is that I never had to follow clickbait, because it was never about the numbers. It was never about getting eyeballs to the site at such a rapid pace, because that was never the metric that we gauged our success. You know, the much more important number for us is how much time people are spending on the site, as opposed to how many people are coming to the site. So we were pretty immune to the clickbait era, but even that is changing, because what I'm finding now, and maybe this is like an insider hot tip, is that when advertisers reach out to us about working together, they're asking for a cost per hour instead of a cost per impression. An impression is 1,000 clicks, so that's every thousandth time an eyeball hits your homepage. And so they're much more interested in the time that people are spending on site, which signifies a very profound change in the way that content is being disseminated. You know, we're not being treated like idiots who just want to look at cats anymore, even though looking at cats is very rewarding. That's it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Give
you.
an awesome round of applause for Leandra. And let's bring out Sophia Franco, the community's
thank
best
you.
writer. Welcome, Sophia. I love you.
Let's get our panelists.
Hi, let's get our panel out here. We have an awesome panel for you guys today. Can you make that chair straight? Yes. Thank you. Guys, we need a panel. All right, by panel, come on up. Okay, first of all, I want to commend you all for coming. I know that, like me, you have 100 other things you could and should be doing. So I thank you for choosing to educate yourself and open your mind for a little while. And with that said, I want to make it clear that every single one of you, every woman here, goes to work every morning, whether you have a job or you don't have a job, whether you go to an office, a store, your den, or your baby's playroom. The minute you put your coffee on the fire, the minute the brain gets fired up, and starts to buzz. That's when we become the executive of our own lives and our families' lives. We are responsible for order, and we are damn good at it. Every one of you is juggling and doing, and you deserve applause. Applaud yourselves. This particular group of women I'm going to introduce has stepped out of their comfort zone and taken it one step further. So without further ado, who are we missing? And Stelly. Let's introduce our panel. We're going to go one at a time. Do you guys have mics? You have a mic? Yeah, they'll go here. One at a time, we're going to introduce ourselves. Who's going to start? Me. Okay, Stell, go. Give her a microphone.
Hi, I'm Stelly, and my salon is Stelly Salon. There you go.
Hi,
We love Stelly.
Oh,
Hi, Heather Fowler's Modern Interiors.
Nancy Sutton, I head up MedStar Medical Referral and the Cancer Center.
Sarah Beebe, Barbara Thayen, founders and owners of Baked by BB's. Joyce Abadi, The Juice Theory.
Is that it? Okay. All right, I'm a really good writer. I have a way of putting things on paper in a simple, real way that people appreciate. But I also talk too much, and I can't focus. We all have traits, good and bad, that help us do what we do. Heather, you called yourself determined and strong-minded. Nancy wanted to make the world a better place. Tell me about your work ethic and how you became the way you are. Where's Heather?
Probably from when I was younger.
Is your mic working?
No,
It's
no,
not.
give me this.
Make it be on.
My work ethic was always very strong, even from when I was a kid. I always wanted to make money, probably because I really didn't have much, so I was working since I'm a kid. And every time something was successful, I wanted more and more. I also saw my father work very hard, and that probably gave me great work ethic.
Nancy?
I would say from a very young age, I really liked to join things. So I would join everything that there was available, and they'd kick me out of some of them, which was fine. And I know I always followed my parents, who were very involved in the start of Achiezer, and we would see parlor meetings all the time. I'm feeling a little strange because I wouldn't call what I do a business, and it isn't, and we all do things that would fulfill us. But the more and more I listen to people today, I know that what we do for nonprofits is very similar to businesses, because if we didn't
she has
raise the money,
employees, a budget. She has to
Right,
get things done on
exactly.
time. She has a
So-
business.
so
She's just doing it for our benefit.
yeah. So anyway, let me pass it on.
Okay, it's easy to come up with an idea. What's not easy is having the patience to see it through. Tell me about the beginning of your business. What inspired you? And how did you decide to start? Joyce.
What inspired me to start?
Or how did you start? If nothing inspired you, just how did you start?
How did I start? I started by being obsessed with finding out what cold pressed juice was. And once I figured out that it was a shortcut to health, I needed to get this machine. Mind you, the machine was so expensive. And I, on a whim, ordered it. And it was funny because my father saw the box come in and he asked me how much the machine was. And when I told it how much it was, he said to me, "Oh, well, you better go into business with that thing." And I had, it didn't even cross my mind that I would be helping other people by fulfilling my own passion. And once I started educating other people, did I really see how much enjoyment I got out of it. And that's really where I started. And from there, I couldn't really stop. And I started giving out samples of juice to anybody and everybody. And I just kept going from there.
You have your own. That doesn't work. And Stelly, why and how did you start your business? Did it? And if someone inspired you, you can say.
Nobody inspired me. I was
We
inspired.
inspire ourselves. I have to tell you, I want to ask the question, who inspired you? And nobody really has the answer. So I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is that inspiration comes from inside us. We all have to inspire ourselves. So now, how and why did
Okay.
you start?
But first of all, I never worked. I never did anything. I was inspired to go to work out of need, ladies. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So before I opened my business, I went to work for somebody else to supplement my daughter, who was in college at the time. And from there, I worked there for a while. My employer became absentee employer for a couple of years. And then I said, I could do this. And I took money that I had saved, and I did it. And that's what I did. And everybody should do what they think they can do.
Okay. Listen to Sally. She's a smart woman. How is your business different today than what you thought it would be when you started? A lot of us, we have ideas and we see things a certain way, and then as you go along the road, it changes. So Nancy, how did your, I know it's not a business, but how did it change along the way? You started out as a volunteer.
Yeah, well, I'm still a volunteer. When I was young, I joined, Sephardic B'Kol Chalim was just starting, and I would take my friends and go to old age homes. And after doing that for a while, they finally let me on the board, which wasn't an easy thing at the time. And everything that would always come up would be about, we don't have enough money. And so I came together with actually Terry DeWeck, who's Kim's sister that's here, and we decided to make an auction, a Chinese auction. It was really one of the first in the community, and it did very nicely. But after a while, things were stagnating. I guess I'll just tell a little fundraising story. One day I decided, I had read something about somebody had sold their house, but they put it up for raffle. And I said, you know, that would be a great idea. If I bought a house and we raffled it off for B'Kol Chalim, that we would make like really big money. So I went to somebody in the community that's a much bigger fundraiser than I am. I'm, amateur when it comes to that. And they said, you're out of your mind because nobody is buying $500 tickets to anything. And I said, okay. I went home really
What year is
disheartened.
this? How long ago?
I would say 30 years ago.
Wow.
So I went to my husband. He always kind of believes in what I think I want to do. And I said, B'Kol Chalim's not going to buy the house. We'll buy the house. And we wrote on the back of the ticket.
Is this dedication or what?
What?
Dedication.
Yes. So we wrote on the back of the ticket that if we didn't sell 1,000 of them, that we would take back the house. In the end, we did it. And we did it for a few years. So that was like, I guess, I kind of thought that was empowering because it was a crazy idea and, it came to fruition. So,
Heather, do you want to say how your business is different than you expected it to be?
It definitely grew way more than I thought it would. Thanks to my daughter who walked in the store after a month of being slow. She goes, Ma, you have to go on Instagram. So she started an Instagram account, and right away it took off. And that really grew the business tremendously. And I also realized you have to work on very low margins and volume. And you have to give great customer service. And then it just snowballed. It just really grew.
That's great. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one learns in school. Every year I get yelled at. I feel remiss because we don't talk about education. What are the most important things you learned in school that helped your career, and what could you have used more of? Sarah went to school. Tell me.
Okay. I actually quit high school to get married at 17. I was always an honor student, so it bothered me that I didn't finish school. I went back to Flatbush after I was married, and I was able to graduate eventually. And then from there, I went to Kingsborough College. It took me 5 years to graduate a 2-year college. I think that
you did it.
I did it, so it's doable, everybody. And from there, I think I learned great, besides the work ethic that was always instilled in me from even my elementary years, I also learned great discipline from being in school and being married and having children.
Having to have your papers in on
Yeah,
time.
and having my husband deal with me.
Go ahead. No, I was giving it to you. I don't know. I also didn't go to college, I would say. I didn't go, and I got married young and had a kid young, and then only maybe 5 years later did I further my education and go on a seminar, which I think a lot of people are becoming more comfortable opening up to learning something new. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I went on this seminar. He's very famous right now. I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, and from there, did it give me I was encouraged to do something. I was so inspired by health and passion and being passionate, and I think that if you find something that excites you, you don't really have to work. Most people want to know when you're in retail, how do I sell? I don't know how to sell things. How do I get people to buy so-and-so? And I think that became the easiest part for me, because when you're selling something that you believe in, it's so natural. People are so gravitated towards what you have to say because it's so genuine that it works. It always works. And I really think that if you trust your gut and if you're passionate about what you're doing, that it will constantly put you in the right direction.
Great. Heather?
I did not go to college. I really wish I did. I would have loved to, but I had to go to work. I believe college is so important. Education refines you and it takes your business to the next level. But my education definitely helped me so much. First of all, yeshiva education, because it teaches you emunah, and everything is from Hashem. So you have to really take that into account. Don't think that only your hard work does it. If you don't have emunah with it, you're not going to really have a business. So that's important too, not only the English education, the Hebrew education.
A lot of times you don't start out doing the right thing. It's not the right fit for you. Tell me about the different businesses you're in, what you learned from them, and how they help lead you to success now. Sarah.
Okay, so I was in co-owner of Breeze Swimwear with my mom for over 10 years. It was a great experience. We had a great time. We loved serving the community. The only thing I would say we were lacking is we had no experience as far as budget or finance. We went to the shows, we went buying, and we just bought whatever we liked. We didn't have a budget, we just spent. And in the end, I think that hurt us a little bit.
She told me that she went to the show without a paper and pen.
Right.
And one of the companies told her, you do it.
They told us, we said, okay, we love all this. This is what we want to buy. When can we have it? And they said, oh, we could deliver 5:30. We looked at our watches, we're like, oh my God, 5:30, we got to get home, we're going to miss the delivery. They meant May 30th. We had no experience whatsoever. But I honestly, I wouldn't change a day of Breeze, because it was just an amazing, fun experience. And we were successful, aside from the fact that we didn't have that much experience. And if we did have the experience, we probably would have been even more successful.
Okay, competition is everywhere. Tell me how you deal with it and problem solve, Stell.
Competition is definitely everywhere. For a very long time, I feel like my business was the only game in town as far as the community went. It's changed drastically over the years. And you have to learn to go back inside and do the best with what you have. You can't worry about everything else and your competition, because your customers will benefit from competition, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, they know where to come, and they come back.
That's true. Okay. Do you guys want to talk about competition? And the cookies, Barb?
I think competition is good because it makes you work harder.
There are a lot of cookies out there.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, wait. I'm going to interrupt. We have an on-demand question about the calorie count of the cookie.
I saw that question. Okay, so we did the calorie count for the Oreo flavor, and we're doing the rest, like we're in the middle of it. But the Oreo flavor is only 13 calories a piece.
13.
So everybody could have at least 10 cookies at a time. I
Okay,
think
now
it's
tell me
okay.
about competition. Sorry.
No, I think competition is good. I'm the type to get very discouraged from it because I'm a nervous wreck with everything. But that's why it's good that we're together, because she's very relaxed and calm, and she has a lot of emunah, which I have to work on. I think I think that if you
Emunah
have
is the most
emunah-
important. I'm going to get to it later, but
I think
it's
if you
most
have
important.
emunah, then you know that Hashem's in control of everything, and there's enough business for everybody.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Nancy told me, I know what I have to get done, but a lot of it I just make up along the way. But my husband, David, who's a very smart man, told me failing to plan is planning to fail. So which is it? How many of you are guilty of poor planning? Sarah just told us she was guilty of poor planning. And how do you solve this issue? Nancy?
Well, I definitely have a life philosophy that nothing happens by coincidence. So if I'm looking to do something or something to create something, it usually has a lot of good feeling around it and components that seem to be coming, and I always think it's from Hashem because I don't believe in coincidences. And so I kind of plunge into something really before I have the whole picture. And when we started MedStar, Bikor Chalim was doing a lot of work with the indigent and not as much with the people that were medically needed help. And somebody called me and said, there's a little boy from Flatbush. He's in a coma for 10 days now in Coney Island Hospital. And you have to get there. And of course, I know nothing. I really, it's never anything I did before. And we went there and we saw there was like so much that could be done. And we told...
There was no MedStar at the time.
No, there was no MedStar. And just to wrap it up quickly, is that we couldn't get him out of the hospital because they said as long as he's in the coma, he can't be moved. Brought in a doctor from the outside. One, they did not have a pediatric neurologist, and got permission for him to come into the hospital. After he treated him, 24 hours later, he opened his eyes and came out of the coma, but at least we could transfer. And then I was telling Sophia that I was at a Bikor Chalim meeting. Well, that's how MedStar started, and we decided we can make a difference by getting involved in medical stuff and just hiring the right people and just creating it. But when about 10 years ago, I was at a Bikor Chalim honoring, and I see the family of this little boy who took years to recover. It didn't, he went into rehab and he had to be put back. He had some brain damage. And I see him sitting there and his parents, and I walk over to the parents and I said, what are you doing here? They said he's getting an award for being the top volunteer in Bikor Chalim that year. So it's unbelievable to see something turn around like that, and you see the full circle of something like that.
I wanted to say something maybe that could help people as far as planning goes. I think that it's very hard to plan out your day on a day-to-day basis, especially when you have so much going on and you're juggling so many things. But there are things that you could do to set yourself up for success. And that is the things I think are important to key in on. Certain routines that you could put yourself in that will set yourself up for a better outcome. Whether it's how you choose to wake up in the morning, if you choose to pray, when you choose to spend time for yourself and for your children. It's so important to carve out the time for yourself, because if you
plan
do
that in advance.
You do. I think, when you said fail to plan,
Planning to fail.
is planning to fail. And sometimes, you look at your massive to-do list and you think there's absolutely no way that I'm going to get through it all. And that is discouraging, because if you feel as though you're going to fail, you just have that fear chasing you on a day-to-day basis. But if you can wake up with some sort of a routine, whether it's even just for a half hour or an hour, something that I personally like to do, I do my best to try and get up before my husband, get up before the
Heather
kids
gets
get
up at 6 in the morning, correct?
And whatever it is that you choose to fill your time with, it's your time. Whatever it is that you can do on a daily basis to make sure that you start your day in the same mental state every day only brings you closer to achieving all of those tasks on your list. And if you don't get through to them at the end of the day, that's fine, but you're able to pencil it all in a clear head in the morning, and I really think that helps.
So I don't believe you really have to plan. It's not really a failure. If anything, when you plan, you know the expression, God laughs when you plan. Sometimes as you go along, it just everything turns out right. So you could set goals, but you don't necessarily need to plan. And I agree what you said. You get up early and you start your day so you get everything done. As Sophia wanted a joke, I don't know if you wanted me to say. Okay, so she laughs at me because when she called me a few times, she said, am I calling too early? I said, no, I get up at 6, I clean the house before my day starts. She said, what do you mean, you don't have help? I said, no, just because you work, the more you do, the more you're able to do. And when you're working, girls, and it's your money, you'll see how you don't want to spend it and waste it on certain things.
Heather, say the line. Money not spent.
Money spent is money earned. So if you're complaining and say, oh, I don't have money, and I can, and I this, even if you don't want to work, if you don't spend money, it's like you're making money if you do it yourself. I don't want to get yelled at and said, oh, don't have a maid and all that. I mean,
Heather does not keep a maid. She cleans the house herself. It's fabulous. It's fabulous.
That's blood money for me. Every sofa I sell, I'm not giving it away.
She's not giving away that money so easily. Okay. What? Okay. Lots of women here have home-based businesses. Sarah and Barbara, the BBs, you decided to switch from selling direct to consumer to selling through retail stores. Then later, amazingly, you took the kitchen out of the home completely. Is it more profitable that way? You want to tell about the transition? It's actually 2 transitions. Go ahead.
Right. I think when we moved to the kitchen at first, it wasn't as profitable because now you have to pay for an oven. I was using her oven in the house. We have to pay for a freezer. We have to pay for all the appliances that we need. So at first, we said, okay, it will be worth it later because when we went into the kitchen, we were able to produce much more than we did at home. At home, we were telling people no every week that we couldn't take any more orders. We were very limited.
And missing text messages.
Yeah, missing text messages. It wasn't organized. We made it we're still working on it, but moving to the kitchen really helped a lot.
And also being in the kitchen took us out of, not completely out, but mostly out of the baking part of the business and allowed us to focus more on the management and the expansion of the business, which I think is important also.
And now Nikki has dinner.
And now Nikki has dinner and my ovens all work.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, risky moves aren't always smart. Tell us how you rolled the dice and it works. Steph.
So, my first business move was opening my little shop, and I used my own money, and I just did it. I didn't ask anybody. I really didn't know what I was doing. I made a tiny little store that I absolutely adored, and that was it. My next thing was that I was blessed to wind up with so many new workers and their followings that I took a giant step and opened the business that I'm in now. And it took a lot of money to do that. I did take in a partner, not so much for the monetary thing as that I really didn't know what I was doing money-wise. And it was pretty risky. I took a second mortgage on my house. I got scared out of my mind the day before it opened. And you know what? I was blessed. I really was. And yeah, you got to be blessed too, but you know what? You got to be prepared to work very hard. And it's so rewarding to work very hard. You're not giving up anything. Trust me, you're not. If you find your passion and you love what you do, just do it. Everything else will fall into place.
Joyce? Joyce?
I think every step in business is risky. Every single solitary one. Choosing to go into business is risky.
You're putting yourself out there.
Putting yourself out there. I mean, even getting...
Like I put myself in this chair today.
Yeah. even just starting an Instagram, you know, even if you're hiding behind a business, okay, so I'm hiding behind the juice theory, but it's me, and it's every post that I put up there, and every person that I can inspire to make more juice, or even just any time that I try and even post, let's just use Instagram because it doesn't get any easier. Every single time you want to make it better, every single time you want to grab people's attention, every time you want to encourage people to either come to the store or try something new, and you don't know if it's going to work. You have no idea. I think even when I first took my store 2 years ago, I was only selling juice. That was it. I wasn't selling anything else. Now, how many people really out there wake up in the morning and say, let me go get juice all day long? It's just, there's only so much that you can, there's so many people that you can attract. And every day, no matter how successful you are, and I thank God I'm so lucky now, I have my mother, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without her, and we have a bigger store, and we sell countless things. Do you wake up every day and you wonder, are people going to come into the store today? Are people going to remember to come in? Do they want to come in? Do they still want your thing? It's just, you're constantly playing with that confidence
I agree.
battle.
We were wondering if these chairs were going to be filled, and apparently we don't have enough chairs.
You know what? And it's so surprising, and it's so rewarding, and you grow tremendously every single day. Do I feel better? It's just, you get such a sense of reward when you put yourself out there, and just know that each person up here is struggling with fear or with confidence, or somebody's insecure about something else, but you end up inspiring other people. Everybody is just as scared as you are.
Great. Heather?
You definitely need confidence to succeed, and the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So, for instance, what's my biggest risk is when I took a $750,000 line of credit, and I constantly used it for whatever business I needed. So a few times I bought houses, I fixed them, and it's very scary till they sell. You have to pay a mortgage, you have to pay taxes, you have to pay insurance, and you have to do a second job and work to pay that and cover it till it sells. So that would probably be the riskiest thing I've done. And like Sally said, you take a second mortgage, you take mortgages, even with the business. You lay out a lot of money.
You
but
have a very big store.
It's
also.
a big
That was
store,
risky to take
and
a
there's
very
no
big
credit,
store.
and everything you buy, you own. There's no credit. So don't be scared to do it, because if you don't try, you don't know if you're going to succeed. So it's okay to fail. You just get up and you do it again. But if you sit back and you're scared, you're just going to end up nowhere.
So what Heather's saying leads into my next question. Success breeds success. So what that means is that when you do well at something, you want to do it again. You want to do more of it. You want to see if you can do it better or attract more people. So tell me about some of your big milestones. Nancy, tell me about a milestone.
A milestone?
Of being successful, of being good at what you do.
Well, there's actually challenges every single day. There's always things being presented that you're not sure you're equipped for, and that's why you really have to hire people. They always say hire people that are smarter than you.
Delegate.
Yeah, but I guess the biggest, I'm going to call it a challenge, was when we were doing MedStar for about 20 years, and we were getting more and more involved with the cancer patient. And we had, for a number of reasons, we decided to do a breast awareness day. We had no idea if women were going to come. I said, let me go out into the street and see people that are cancer survivors if they would join our panel. And lo and behold, everyone was saying yes. So we had 20 women on a panel, and 700 women came. And from there, we saw the need to open something just for people that have cancer. And what it was going to be, we weren't sure. But the people were telling us some of their needs. And I went to Bikol Halim, that really backs everything I do. And it was 2009, and Bikol Halim was down 25% from the recession. And they said, sure, it's a great idea, but you're going to have to raise all your own money. Now, usually, I guess people would go running to the hills, but I belong to a really exclusive club, and it's this community. And I know if I go out there and we present something that's so needy for the community, that they're just going to open their wallets. And I know I'm more and more than ever, I see that this community does not get duplicated so easily. because we've been trying to open and bring other communities to see what we're doing with the Cancer Center. It's now a standalone non-for-profit. We raised the fund, thank God, because of Hashem's help. And other communities say, we don't have what you have. We don't have the volunteers and the manpower. And without the volunteers, and every one of the volunteers is a worker. Just like anybody who goes out and works a job, they want to be fulfilled, and so we have to make sure that they're fulfilled, and they're out, in a sense, they're our
Volunteering is a job.
it is a job. It totally, I mean, in the end, what we want in life is to feel fulfilled. And whatever that is for you, nobody should dictate it. Whether it's volunteering, whether it's taking a job, whether it's staying home with your kids, and that is what you want to do. And that's great. So that was a really big challenge.
First of all, anybody that's standing, anyone that's standing, there are some seats in the front if you want to sit. I think this one's not working, yeah. It's not working. If anybody's standing and wants a seat, there are some in the front here. Okay, so the constant question, I'm sure every single one on this panel kind of answered it, but we'll ask it again, is how do you juggle it all? But honestly, most successful women will shrug that question off. They won't even, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Does anybody have a real answer to how you do it all? And do we have to lower our expectations as working women? Or lower our expectations as a mom or as a wife if we are working? Anybody have an answer? How do you do it all?
You don't have to lower your expectations at all, and you can do, the more you do, the more you're capable of. You just have to be organized. If you get up and say, oh, I have to cook dinner and you have to do this, you can do it all. The only thing you might sacrifice a little with the children, that I feel bad, you don't have as much time, but you definitely can do it all, and you could do it top notch.
Go ahead, Sergey.
I definitely don't think you should lower your expectations. I think that's the last thing that you should do. I definitely think that you should raise your standards, and by doing that, prioritizes the most important things going on in your life. So there are a lot of things in this world, in this community, that can steal your attention, that isn't exactly important or doesn't pertain to your life.
You don't have to troll Instagram for 2 hours?
You need to be able to filter out the important things, and that's what I mean by raise your standards. Just focus on the important things. Focus on what gets you going, or what makes you passionate, or your children. Carve out the time. As far as something to do, what did you ask exactly? Because I have the answer. I just don't know.
How do you do it all?
Something that I do that I learned from a coach is something like they talked about in businesses where they get together and they do some sort of a brain dump. But for most of us who aren't working amongst 10 to 12 people, you basically have to do it yourself. Something that I learned was what my coach called a brain dump, where you literally write out every single thing you could be thinking of, every single solitary thing. It could be
right before bed is a good time to do it.
Yeah, it could be from making sure to do the laundry, to picking up something from the butcher, to for me, let's just say making sure I get a produce order in, or don't forget to get a manicure, which I forgot to do. All those things, and you put them all out there so that it's not stuck in your head. And it's impossible to see things clearly when you have a million things going on in your head. So you do this brain dump, you write every single thing. It doesn't have to be organized, it doesn't have to be in order. And then after you just let it all out, you can breathe, and then you look at the whole thing that you wrote, and then you pull apart the things that are actually...
You prioritize.
You prioritize, and then you put it into important, necessary, urgent, important, and necessary. And from there, you just go from the top down.
Perfect. Okay, Stelly's in business 28 years. She's a real veteran. Someone told me to ask you, how do you keep the brats and the beauties coming back? And I didn't like that question.
I love that question.
You like it like that, but what motivates you to keep going? And why do you think people continue to put their trust in you? Because we all do.
Okay, because really, if you're honest with your people, it doesn't pertain to every type of business, but in the service business, if you're honest with your clients, they're going to come back. If you surround yourself with the best people, which I think I've done, and it's all about them. They're 90% of how this happens. I don't do anybody's nails or their hair or any of that. So you have to just totally be upfront, and you have to look at the person that's doing their nails. And if they're throwing themselves, and if they're whatever, you got to look past it, and you got to know that they're just somebody. I don't deal with the whole world. I deal with the Sephardic community. And I have seen things in the years that I've worked that make me want to do nice things for the women in this community because they're special. They have crappy days just like everybody else, and it's all about just getting a manicure and relaxing. So when I keep that in mind all the time, and I'm genuinely interested in their stories, and I'll definitely hold their confident stories, but whatever it is, I'm there for them. I think that's why they come back. I do.
She cares. She
I
cares.
care.
She really cares. Okay. Okay. Exceed is here to help you and people like you. Tell me about your experience when you asked for help or when you chose not to ask for help. Heather?
Well, I think I answered that before when I was saying about my home equity line of credit. That's really what got me through all my businesses. That helped me so much. And I could give credit to the first business that I was in, which was jewelry. I had a retail jewelry store in Manhattan.
Heather morphed a few times. She had a jewelry store.
20 times.
She was in real estate.
So the first break I probably got was a cousin's husband of mine, Manny Levy, who he had a check cashing business, and he offered us the space, and he loaned me $75,000 to open the store. And we paid it back right away within the year. And thank God for people helping. That's what always gets you going. So don't be scared to ask for help. People will help you if they have confidence in you. Just tell them what you want to do, and if they have confidence, they'll lend you the money.
Nancy, did anybody ever help you or just the community?
Yeah, I mean, I had one individual, we decided to open something called the Sephardic Hospital Fund, and it needed to be a standalone. It was giving back to hospitals because that's where it just helps the MedStar work so much better when we're involved with each of the hospitals. And I think that that's one of the things that we do best is we build relationships with doctors and hospitals so they care about us. And they always tell us, wow, you're really the real thing. You're not in it for any reason.
That's true with every business. You have to build relationships. That's so important.
Right. So we, the hospital administrators would come and go, and we didn't have sure footing. And I went to this individual, Jimmy Haber, and I told him this idea, and he said, I think that it's a great idea. And we raised money to give to, I think we've given to like 7 or 8 hospitals, a small stipend of money that just shows that the community supports hospitals and that we're part of that. We don't only give to our own institutions, and this was something new on the horizon. And since then, like somebody told me, forget about Cornell, they're never even going to talk to it. We didn't know a janitor. And the little money that we gave, the president became like our best friend. And so you just never know where it's going to go.
That's great. Nancy said to me, opportunities are always presenting themselves. You just have to open your eyes to them. And there's no truer statement in business. How have you seen God's hand in your business? Barb?
I see God's hand in my business every day, but there's 2 times where it really stood out. We went to Cedarhurst and we brought cookies to sample, and we went to the manager to show it to him first in the corner, and all of a sudden, I don't know who these people are, and I hear them saying, oh, that's BBB, I see it on Instagram, oh, I tasted it before somewhere, and I'm like, it's crazy how that just happened in front of him. They were like, can I buy it right now? So he's like, give me an order right now, I want it. No, they were in Syrian, they were Cedarhurst, and people that we don't know them, they don't know us. It was just crazy how it happened. It was crazy. And, oh yeah.
The most blatant time when we saw Hashem's hand was we were making cookies at first. It wasn't even brittle. It was real cookies. If any of our customers, when we first started, you'll know this. One day we accidentally put too much almond milk in the batter, and we put it in the oven, and they flattened. And it was a garbage batch. We were throwing them out. So we just cut them up. We said, we'll snack on these. It turned out to be the most incredible thing. And these are crunchy, they're thin. Oh my God, we have to do this. And hence the brittle came about.
Awesome. Heather, you believe think small, make small, think big, make big. Explain.
Well, the bigger you invest and the bigger things you do, you're going to make more money. And like Sophia said, success breeds success. It becomes a challenge. It becomes a game. You want more and more. And it's just, sorry, I need water.
You told me don't think I can be as good as a man.
Oh, you could be better than a man, actually. Actually,
Women's brain works
so Sophia
phenomenal.
Sophia asked me what woman in the community inspired you. I said, listen, all women are great, but to be honest with you, the men in the community inspired me. I've seen so many successful men from rags to riches, self-made, and I said, hey, if they can do that, I can do that too. So actually, I have to credit the men in the community.
Perfect. FOMO, fear of missing out. We all get it. Have you missed out while building your business, or are you better for it? How do you deal with it? You want to answer?
I didn't hear the question.
FOMO, Barbara.
Okay. I think that the most time that I feel
FOMO
it
means fear of missing
yeah,
out.
I think the most time that I really feel it is, let's say, on a Friday when I'm so overwhelmed. I have to get the deliveries here, and my friends are on the beach, chilling, and I'm very overwhelmed and I'm very nervous. And I have a lot of things to do. That's when I feel that's when it kicks in. But other than that, I just say, okay, get through this day. Because it's not always. It's when I feel overwhelmed and when I feel like I don't have to be doing this right now. I could be on the beach, but you have to whatever.
But do you feel better at the end of the day?
Yes, of course, I feel better at the end of the day. In that moment,
Everything gets done.
yeah. Then it's Shabbat that night, and
She feels more accomplished after everything gets done, and she knows that she had a productive day, more so than her friend sitting on the beach in a way.
Exactly. You have an answer?
Once I started working, did I really get to appreciate Shabbat? I think that is, it's so true. You know what? Every week is a busy week. There's so much going on. The fear of missing out is not only on your day-to-day with your friends, but for me, it's with my kids. And you miss out on so much. I miss out on I never get to put my son on the bus in the morning, or I don't get to see him when he gets off the bus, or I'm not the one to read him a bedtime story. And sometimes it's hard, and that's when you appreciate Shabbat, because that's when you realize that's what Hashem gave it to you for. And if you could,
I know a lot of working women that didn't keep Shabbat before and keep Shabbat now.
And I have to say, I was definitely one of those people. And the best thing that I ever did was not stop using my phone on Shabbat. Awesome. And I don't know, people hide that, and people are embarrassed to say that they use it or whatever it is. And I only have to talk about it because it only helped me so much more. I wasn't proud that I was using the phone, but the fact that I stopped, I was able to focus on everything else around me, which is really what Shabbat is about. Whether you have kids or you don't have kids, it's really time to shut down, get in touch with yourself, spend time with the people around you. And if you can carve out that, if you were expected to carve out that time during the week and there was no Shabbat, most people would fail, which is why we're so lucky that we do have Shabbat, because
you deal with what you got.
You get it. It's so lucky.
Great. Heather?
You definitely miss out. Your friends drop you slowly, not on purpose. It's because you're not around. You're working all the time, and then they keep inviting you. You don't come, and then they think you're not interested. Right. So you have to just understand that what you're doing is more important. Stay focused and not worry so much. You're going to get way less invitations, and that's life. It's just you have to put your priorities in front of you.
Name 3 things everyone here can go home and do, whether they're building a business, starting a business, or just want to make their lives more fulfilled. Anybody have answers? Sarah has an answer, right?
Yeah, okay. I say everybody go home and make a list of realistic and practical goals. Number 2, you prioritize those goals. And number 3, you make one of them happen. You make the first move for one of them. Make the first phone call. Do to make
Once begun, half done. I don't know if you heard it on the video, but I really swear by that. You just start it, and it continues.
You really hit it on the neck. You really hit it on the head. But the only other thing that I would say is find a mentor or find somebody that could hold you accountable. share your passion.
Answering
with
to someone is a big deal.
Sharing your passion with
It's like when
somebody
you go to
and
Weight Watchers and you have to go get weighed.
yeah, you know what?
Answering to someone.
And so many people see results because of that. And I think that if you find somebody to hold you accountable, if you find somebody who shares the same goal as you, which is success, then they'll help you.
Anyone else?
If you have anything you like to do, take it to the next level. Don't be scared. Even if you think it's a dumb little hobby, do it. Like whether it's a service industry, whether it's
You
something
never know
you
when
make.
it's going to explode.
Right. Make money off of it. If you're good at something, don't be scared to try to make money off of it.
When I was little, I used to paint sweatshirts and sell them. I did.
I sold barrettes in 4th grade.
Me too, I did
Yes,
barrettes.
I bought leather
Vanguard,
straps,
we used
and
to
that was
buy
my
the
first
stones.
business.
Okay, networking, social networking, internet and social networking. And by the way, if anybody's interested in social networking or internet, we have a booth after the program where you can get help. Barbara, you want to talk about social networking?
I think that social networking made us what we are today. Nobody would have known that we're coming out with brittle, or we're coming out with a new flavor, or we just delivered to Juice, go get it, or we just delivered here, or even random people, not even Jewish people. We get orders from Spain and random places that they find us on Instagram. There's no other way they would have found us. It's crazy. You get out to the world, not only the community, everybody.
Anyone else, social networking? Nobody? Okay. Nancy talked about tikkun olam. So does anybody know what tikkun olam is? We're put on this world to make it a better place, to change it little by little. So can you tell us a little bit about making a difference in this community? Maybe about the cancer center?
I think no matter what level, if we are as volunteers and as workers, even if you work in a store, if you put your hand out and you take care of that person for a second, you give them a different hello, all of that makes a difference in that person's day and that person's life. And I think that we all have the ability to make that difference every single day.
So someone came over to me at a wedding the other night, and she said, "You are the nicest person." I'm like, well, I don't even know you. And she said, and she was so sweet. She said, "One time I was in Costco, and I asked you about the swings, and you came to the back of the store to show me the swing, to explain to me which one to buy. I didn't even know I was doing something nice." So be nice to people. It's important. It's very important, and it's part of being successful. Because whatever business you're in, your personality is going to come out in your Instagram, in the way you greet people at the storefront, in the way you handle a return of furniture, in the way you handle a person that never shows up for her manicure. The way you are inside is always going to come out in your business. And if you are a good person, you will be successful. If you care about what you do and you're passionate about it. So goals. Who has goals? Nancy, you have a goal? 5, 10 years? What's your goal?
I'm waiting for the next thing to come.
She's waiting for the next thing to come. Heather.
I live day to day.
Sel.
Minute to minute.
No, we have big goals. We want to be like a household name everywhere. We want to be in all the gourmet specialty stores. Yeah, we want to take it worldwide, God willing.
Joy?
I mean, basically, to live a healthier, cleaner lifestyle, to be more conscious of what you put into your body, and that's it.
Do you want more stores?
Do I want more stores? Yeah, we want more stores. My mother and I, not just myself. I wouldn't be able to do it without her.
Working with family. Do you want to answer about working with your mom?
It's not easy, but I'm very, very lucky. No, I definitely think it's, for me, it was the right time in my life. You have to be able to bend. You have to be able to be patient.
Sometimes different people bring different things to the business.
Oh, she brings so much to the business. She's really so creative. She's so strong. She always, I told her the other day, we had done a small little party, and I told her after it was all said and done that I always learned something from her. And so that, in a sense, is everybody finding themselves a mentor. And I just feel lucky enough that I work with her and that she's my partner, because she inspires me every day. She teaches me another aspect of the business that I'm fortunate enough to have.
Does this one work? Hello.
Oh, does it?
Does this one work? I want also Sarah. worked with her mom in Breeze in the bathing suit store. Now she works with her daughter with the cookies. So let's hear what she has to say about working with family.
I'm all for it, obviously. I'm still doing it, but I think that there's a level of trust and love and support that you have when you're working with a family member that you wouldn't necessarily have working with anybody else. So,
Definitely what you said is so true. Working with a family member, it's complete trust. I work with my husband. We're partners, and it's so much fun because you're with someone that you totally can do everything with. So everyone says you're crazy. How do you go home, go wake up, go to work, do everything together? It's actually better. And each one wants to help the other to be more successful. And one example, how he brought it to the next level, he was a retail discounter where he liked to buy in large volume. I would never buy so many sofas and so many things and stock them and have them ready to go. I wasn't thinking as big as that, so that helped me a lot.
Like overnight, you pick it out, it's
Same
in your
day.
house at 2 o'clock that afternoon.
Same day, an hour later.
Same day.
Thanks to Michael.
Any other advice you girls have for the audience?
To make sure that if you see anybody first going into business, to tell them that they're doing great and keep supporting them, because I think that the support of the community really helped us, especially me, because I get discouraged if somebody says one negative thing, and there was a lot of positive, so that really helped us keep going. So make sure to tell anybody who's first starting out, because it really helps.
my piece of advice is don't be afraid to make mistakes because your mistakes can become your biggest successes.
That's great.
Also, that I learned that Hashem's in control of everything and not to worry about things I can't control. If there's BBB in a store in Cedarhurst, I'm thinking, oh my God, is it selling today? But really, I can't control that. So just know that Hashem's in control.
Any advice? No, she said enough. Any advice?
Be nice to everybody
Be
because
ni-
everything
just do it. My advice is
everything comes
just
back
do
to
it.
you.
If you have an idea, just put it out there. If you are passionate about it, you will be good at it. People will accept it. People will follow you. Just do it. Just like Nike, just do it. Any questions from the audience? We good? Thank you so much for coming. Please have lunch. There's a delicious lunch. Grace catered it. And wait. If you want to learn social networking, what is it called? Dwayne Street Digital.
Hi, Dwayne Street Digital is here to teach us about technology and social media.